Hello and welcome to video tutorial number 4 for Visual Basic. And in this tutorial we're going to be covering iterative statements. Now, iteration is basically a loop or a counter. It does a section of code repeatedly. It loops until something is satisfied, so a statement is satisfied, and it will keep doing this until that happens. So I'm going to show you now, and it's probably easier to show you rather than just explain. So I'll explain what I'm doing as I go along. I'm going to dim a counter as an integer, and I'm going to show you something else quickly here as well. Before in the previous videos you saw me do this, counter equals 0, to assign the value of 0 to counter. Now, instead of doing that, I'm going to show you a little shortcut. When you dim the value, if you know what the original value is going to be, you can set it here, equals to 0. And that basically gives counter the value of 0 as you create it. And that saves you a line of code. Obviously, if you're happy doing it like this, then that's fine, it's acceptable. Now, the first type of loop I'm going to cover is a do loop. And there's two types of do loop. You can do while or do until. And if we type do in and hit enter, you automatically get this here that says loop. And that's everything between these two words is the loop. So as the compiler reads this, it will see the do and it will keep doing what's inside of here until or while this statement is true. So loop, I'll do a while now, while counter is less than or equal to, and this is a new operator as well that I've not shown in my videos yet. You can have a less than, a greater than, or you can have a less than or equal to. So if counter is less than or equal to 10, it will do this loop. Now, counter is currently equal to 0. So what we're going to want to do is, if we don't increment the counter value, then it's never actually going to end the loop, because it's always going to be less than or equal to 10. So the first thing we want to do is create a sort of exit clause, or something that's actually going to make counter greater than 10. So we're going to just write counter equals, and you can write counter plus 1. And that basically says whatever's in counter, add 1 to it, and then give counter that value again. So the first time it sees this, counter will be 0, and then counter equals 0 plus 1, counter equals 1. And what we want to do is, so we can see this on the screen, we'll write console.writeLine, and then we'll put this is part of the loop. Oh, I'll put a capital there. And there we go. So what's going to happen now, and it's always good practice to do this as well, otherwise you'll find it flashing up all the time and going away. Console.readLine to wait at the end for us. So this is basically going to count through 1 to 10, and it should display it all out here. And we'll run this, and you'll see when it runs, this is part of the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. And that would be correct, because the 10th one, which starts at 0, and the 10th one would be the 11th. 0 to 10, there are 11 values there. So yeah, that's that. You can also do a loop until counter equals 10. And that would basically be the same. It basically loops until, as it says, the counter is equal to 10. And because we put this here, counter will always be equal to 10. Always become eventually equal to 10 after X amount of loops. And there we go. Now we can also just show you what happens if counter never actually reaches 10. So let's remove this clause here. There we go. Bit useless when it comes to using the mouse somehow. And if we run this, it's basically just running forever. There's nothing to stop it, so it's just going to continue to do that on and on and on. And that's the first type of looping. We can also do, if I remove this now, we can do a count. We can do a for count. well, we do a for loop for counter equals 1 to 10. Next. And what this does, you specify how many times you want it to loop. So this will loop 10 times for counter equals 1 to 10. And you can then write console.writeLine. This is part of the loop. Save that, run it, and there we have it again, 10 more loops. And this is really handy because you can do a lot of things with loops. Like a lot of programs, you want to go back to the beginning, and in order to do that, you can create a loop so that it keeps looping round until the user tells the program to end. So that's basically it. And now, in the next video, I'm going to be covering user inputs and how you can prompt the user to give the program a value which it can then use using the console readline function. I'll explain that in good detail, and from there we'll be able to create a basic calculator and probably a magic 8-ball. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.